Good evening and welcome to tonight's City of Burnside Council meeting on the 17th of March 2026. Please stand if you are able and remain silent for the acknowledgements. We acknowledge the land we meet on today as the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today. We also pay respect to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting and attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to those who have sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. We also share our concerns for all those currently affected by war, especially in the Middle East and Ukraine. Finally, we seek understanding and guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Please be seated. Please be respectful of each other and of the deputy during the debates by listening to what each one has to say and not talk whilst they are addressing the council. It is important that all views of the elected members are heard. Remember to use your speak button and wait until I ask you to address the chamber and turn off your microphone as soon as you have finished speaking. And please make sure your mobile phone is off or on silent before we begin, that is members of the gallery as well. I have received no apologies this evening. And I'll remind you of declaration of interest later on, and I'm seeking someone to confirm the minutes of the last council meeting. Councillor Henschke, moving, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour? Against? Carried. There's no adjourned business, so we move to public presentations. There's no public question time questions. No presentations, but we do have a deputation from Ms Chappell, so I'd ask you to come forward, Ms Chappell. I have explained to you to just state your name and your suburb, and once you start speaking, the timer will begin. Okay, thank you. Yes, please help yourself. Councillor Turnbull, can you turn your microphone off, please?
Good evening, Mayor Anne and committee, councillors.
If you move across a little,
Okay.
That's better.
All right. Okay, thank you. I'm one on my own. Okay. Fundamentally, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all. Fundamentally, I ask tonight, will this council act as a custodian of our environment or sit back and let incremental destruction continue? Which will you choose? I speak on behalf of myself, local residents, and the broader community regarding the potential sale and development of the 7.9-acre Borrell land at 20 Macbeth Sky. This is a well-known and much-loved site. It offers panoramic views across the Adelaide Plains and includes the 100 years of Anzac Lookout and the ridgeline immediately to the east, one of only 8 remaining public viewpoints along the Hills Face zone and the most accessible. These viewpoints define Adelaide's landscape and are highly valued by residents and visitors alike. Borrell has approval for 3 allotments, and the land is now for sale. Development would have a significant impact on this iconic grassland and hillside. The Hills Face zone exists to protect Adelaide's watershed, skyline, biodiversity, and cultural landscape. We strongly believe this land should be protected, not developed further. I would also like to address the proposed boundary alignment, the realignment between the City of Burnside and the Adelaide Hills Council. We have been advised by Burnside Council staff that this is currently in the inquiry phase with the Boundaries Commission. We ask our council to urgently seek extended community consultation, ensuring the planning implications of any boundary change are fully considered by our community before a final decision is made. We need time. I have contacted the Boundaries Commission, and our request for extra time for consultation on this issue has been tabled on their agenda for tomorrow. Another major concern is the proposed road connection between Macbeth Drive and Kensington Road. This area is located in a high bushfire risk area, the highest level. Development would require significant vegetation clearance, potentially a 400-metre band of large trees along the skyline for emergency access under CFS regulations. Such clearing would dramatically alter the ridgeline that the Hills Face Zone was designed to protect. We urge Council to consult the community before any such road proposal progresses, if it comes to that. The environmental value of this land is considerable. It provides breeding habitat for the endangered cryptic sun moth, recorded over many years by citizen scientists on iNaturalist. This moth species depends on native grasslands, which are now rare and declining in the Mount Lofty ranges. Green Adelaide, South Australia's first governmental urban environmental organisation, identifies open grassy habitat loss as the sun moth's greatest threat. The site also supports native birds, animals and grasses, such as the wallaby and kangaroo grasses. Any clearing risks damaging this fragile ecosystem. How many such grassland reserves do you look after in your council area? And are there cultural heritage considerations associated with this land? We believe a cultural heritage survey should be undertaken and shared with the community. We have engaged with the 3 main candidates for the electorate of Bragg, all of whom have expressed support and have contacted the Environment Minister, the Honourable Lucy Hood, seeking assistance. In closing, I draw your attention to your Burnside 2030 Strategic Community Plan. Very interesting. Because of this, I've had to examine it. Goal 2 is the environment. It's goal 2 of your themes, commits you to a bold action as a leading environmental custodian promoting environmental diversity. Goal 3, place, commits you to a city of accessible living spaces with valued open spaces and heritage. We ask Council to honour these commitments and explore options to protect this land, whether through council purchase or partnership with the state government and other organisations. This is a rare and irreplaceable landscape. Once developed, it cannot be restored. We ask Council to take a leadership role and help preserve this land for current and future generations. It can be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I have anyone who wishes to ask a question? Councillor Henschke.
Good evening. Thank you for your summary and all the work you've done. Learning about the golden sun moth.
And not the golden, the cryptic sun moth.
Cryptic, okay. These moths rely on grasslands, not necessarily trees.
No trees.
No trees, all grass. Okay, yeah, this is, this understory and grassland is very important for this insect, yeah. Thank you very much.
If you walk up there, if anyone has walked this ridge, I'm not sure how many of you have, but you will see that almost all the non-native grasses are destroyed by 2 years of drought, whereas the native grasses are still there.
Kangaroo grass, wallaby grass.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
If there are no further questions, then I thank you very much for coming in.
Okay.
Now we move to deputations. Now we petitions. And we have a motion to receive a petition related to the topic we've just heard about, the Large Hills Face Zone Ridgeline. So I seek a mover for that, to receive that petition. Councillor Henschke, you're moving, seconded by Councillor Hallett. Do you wish to speak on the matter? No, right. So I'll put it to the council to vote. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Division's been called. So those who voted in favour, could you please stand? So we have Councillor Henschke. You can come in, Councillor, but you probably are too late at this point to vote. Yes, you can't vote even if you're seated, okay? So we've got Councillor Henschke, Councillor Cornish, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Hallett, Councillor Zing, Councillor Davey, Councillor Jones, I'm having a mental block. Councillor Wilkins, Councillor Dawes. Those against, Councillor Turnbull. Thank you. Now I'm going to go through the reports and seek someone who wishes to withdraw it for debate. The first one is 11.1, Disability Access and Inclusion. Councillor Hallett?
Oh, sorry.
No. Councillor Henschke? Yes. You wish to withdraw it? The annual review of confidential items. I seek a mover. Councillor Dawes, seconded by Councillor Zing. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The precinct plan, 11.3. Councillor Wilkins, you wish to withdraw it?
Yes, please.
The finance end of month report for February, Councillor Davey.
Thank you.
The Mayor's activity report, February, for the month of February. Councillor Davey, are you withdrawing it or wish to move it? Chief Executive's report, Officer's report. Councillor Henschke, you wish to withdraw it? Right, so we'll go back to 11.1, which is on page 27 of your papers. And it is Councillor Henschke to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move with the officer's recommendation that the Council adopts the Draft Disability Access and Inclusion Plan 2026 to 2030, Attachment 1, to report to and approves its submission to the Minister for Human Services. Thank you for the administration for the comprehensive report, consultation with the community, with this very important piece of work to comply with the legislation of 2018. I just wanted to bring to attention of the Chamber the statistics that were brought to light in the report. It is a very important issue for the community, and the second thing I wanted to highlight was the mapping of this plan, the action plan, onto all the council's policies and procedures, and in everything we do, projects all have to consider access and inclusion, and I think that's we commend the administration for that. So this plan will mean that the mindset of staff, contractors, council will have that lens of disability access inclusion. It has ramifications that most of us are not aware of, from simple things like tactile buttons you might see on footpaths for people who are blind, where blind dogs will stop at. I wasn't aware of that. Blind dogs need those tactile indicators to help them stop at crossings so that their owners can safely cross. So raising awareness through this plan is absolutely essential going forward. Thank you to all involved.
Councillor Dawes, you seconding?
I'll second, but I reserve my right.
Right. I think speak now, Councillor Dawes. Sorry, Councillor Turnbull got in.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to congratulate the team that put this together. It's fantastic. I read it right through and was so impressed with everything. Only one little thing I would ask you to do, and that's on page 29. It's 11B, the upgraded multiple key facilities, etc., and automated built-in lounge access doors. Can you add to that automated doors for the cafe? That would be good, because people really struggle with that. But everything else, thank you very much. Really good. Congratulations.
All right, Councillor Dawes.
I just want to support Councillor Henske here. This has been a long process, and I'm sure that Belinda knows this, and it's been going through 3 or 4 iterations, and I think we've come up with a very, very good document for the future. So I wanted to pass on my congratulations to the team as well. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just not sure. I think there's some people trying to get out and don't know. Oh, it's working. It's fine. Thank you. Sorry about that. Right, well, I will, unless no one else to speak, I shall put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. And now we move to item 11.3, Councillor Wilkins, page 95.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the outset, I do declare a general conflict of interest, as I do live in Eastwood, but as the ward councillor, I am going to speak up for the residents in the area in which I live. In moving the motion, I have deleted part B, and there is an alternate. Is this the alternate on the screen? Resolves, I can't see the second half.
So 1 and 2 are the same?
1 and 2 are the same. 3, I resolve to retain the proposed trial closure road at Main Street with the precinct plan down to 6 months. And then I request part 4, the Chief Executive Officer to undertake the statutory notification and consultation process, another consultation process, in part A. Then part B, report back to Council on the outcomes of that consultation, read the options available. And 5, notes that any decision to implement a trial road closure or to make a road closure permanent will be subject to a further report and resolution of Council.
So before you go on, there are no actual changes, you're just identifying whether it's A or B in number 3 and number 4?
Yes, as I explained, B is deleted.
Yes, that's fine. I just wanted, for the people who are in the audience and
Yes.
at home, just wanted to make sure
There
they
were
understood.
2 options in the initial recommendation. I've deleted one of them. Thank you. In speaking to this, the whole purpose of this continuing topic of road safety in Eastwood is to address the increasing traffic volumes and cut through traffic volumes in our tightly held and closely connected neighbourhood. Young students and elderly residents and workers from nearby businesses which now surround Eastwood are continuously walking through our neighbourhood streets, progressing through to Glen Osmond Road, because there's a very popular bakery out there, which is popular at lunchtime and all other times of the day, it seems. Since the development of Burnside and the Archibald Corner, where traffic lights have changed, etc., and an extra traffic light set has been set at Mulberry Street going into Glenside, traffic through Eastwood has intensified because cars are increasingly travelling at speed through Main, Elizabeth, Markey and John Streets to avoid the arterial roads on Glen Osmond Road and to get to Fullerton Road. Eastwood is also the entry point for cyclists riding through from Glen Osmond, down Fowlers Road into the city. 3.4% in the document that's in here in the report. Thank you very much for that excellent report. Are cycling to work on the bike path through Elizabeth Street, Main, Birkin Street, North and across Green Hill Road into the city. What we do need, and our local member is working towards, and hopefully we do achieve, is a signalised crossing at Birkin Street, over Green Hill Road, into Beaumont Road and hence into the city. There is an example that already exists in the neighbouring state electorate ward of Unley, and it's at Porter Street. So no reason why they can't do it at Birkin Street. Previous treatments over the years have been a bit cosmetic. We've had local road-only signs, on all sorts of entrances into Eastwood, which is that triangular suburb at the bottom end of the city of Burnside. We've also had 20 k's per hour signs on the road entrances as well. They simply say, come on through. You've got a passageway right through the suburb, and they go past Grove Street Kindy and the Care Centre at Cranley House, the Main and Matilda Street Reserves, which thankfully we have comfortable seats, tables and green grass and trees where people sit and eat their lunch, have meetings, etc. And also a childcare centre. So this is an important part of the city of Burnside. We were all there in houses which were built in 1880, narrow streets. My prime concern is road safety for residents. So I ask you to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davey, you're seconding.
Yes, I'm happy to
Do you
second.
wish to speak now?
I'll reserve my right, thanks.
Councillor Dawes.
Yeah, a couple of questions for administration, if I may. There'll be two, presiding member. First one, there are 24 recommendations, and the one that, 28, and number 24 has been talked about already. How do we decide the priority of what comes first? Just take me through that particular process, and I have a question to follow.
Through the Mayor. In terms of the ones that were actually included, Councillor, or do you mean which ones we would actually implement first?
Yes, like, how do you decide? That's what I'd like to know.
So essentially what the precinct plan does is it sets out a priority rating in terms of medium, high and low, and that's based on traffic data. So things like the amount of infringements, the amount of speeding we've seen through traffic surveys, the amount of accidents that might be in a particular area, things like that, combined with, I guess, the number of responses we actually had from the community, particularly in the first round when we asked them to identify their issues. So those priorities would have been identified based on a combination of those things. It's obviously slightly qualitative, but it's a combination of issues that have been reviewed through surveys and data, traffic data, and those that were raised by the community. And that's what the priority ratings are based on.
Right, so therefore the high ones are done first.
That would be the recommendation, but some, on the other hand, some of the higher ones are also the most expensive. So some of the lower priority ones can actually be implemented quite quickly within existing asset renewal budgets. And we'll actually, as we sort of explained in the report, we'll do a process where we'll integrate some of those so they can be enrolled out fairly quickly. Whereas some of the high priority ones might be more expensive and actually might even require in some cases external funding to implement.
Right. My second question goes to page 145, and it is in relation to recommendation 24, which seems to be the main part of the motion, that I was surprised that 19 out of the 30 did not support Main Street being closed, but did support something to reduce the amount of traffic. So what Councillor Wilkins has proposed today is just to only go with the closure, not with a closure or perhaps something alternative to a closure. Is that correct?
Through the Mayor, essentially that's a correct summary of where we've arrived at.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Davey, do you wish to speak?
Thank you. Thank you to all the staff for all of the work. It's a huge amount of work that's been done with the staff. I think a consultant's done the lead work, and the community to develop this plan so far in this very congested area that's suffering. Well, I think it's suffering a lot from the through traffic that goes through from the freight traffic on Portrush Road and the ordinary traffic that's trying to avoid it. And I think the residents and perhaps the businesses too suffer a lot because of that. And I think this puts in place a lot of treatments, as they're called, proposals to manage this in coming years. It has very interesting cultural pockets, and we've heard about Eastwood and its particular issues. I know Dulwich Rose Park and Toorak Gardens have their own particular issues as well, and particularly from the developments on Fullerton Road and because they're sandwiched in between Portrush Road as well. The only omission that really there is in the plan is not much consideration of enforcement rates and parking, because one of the huge dilemmas that we face and that we get so many complaints about is parking. And we all try very hard with our policies, and I know the staff do as well, with applying fair and equitable parking access. So enforcement is very critical, especially of the parking activities, because of course we've got the tension with residential amenity and businesses wanting to park. So this is certainly a start, and will be developed as it goes along with the priorities addressed. I certainly support and think that the trial of the Main Street closure is critical. Councillor Dawes has pointed out that there are different views on this, but I don't think we can close off any street without having a trial to see what the implications are and the unintended consequences. So I hope you'll support this, and we can see how this, the first of our precinct plans, is implemented and gets underway. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to emphasise to the Chamber and that through this report, we are really at a critical point in the history of this city. We are at that tipping point where we have so much inner city zone development, densification of the inner city zone, crash data now is not good anyway. 7 out of 8 crashes on that intersection of Grant Avenue and Prescott Terrace were between a car and a cyclist. 7 crashes out of 8 bicycles were being hit. Pedestrians, 13 pedestrians were hit. We can't even have one pedestrian hit in where we live. We should be able to walk safely. Our children should be able to ride their bikes to school, but no, we can't. We are now accepting to have primary collectors through a residential area, an established neighbourhood zone with a historic overlay. We're accepting not the lower range of traffic quantity, but more than the upper limit. On a primary collector, we should not allow more than 6,000 vehicles per day cutting through a residential area. The range for a primary collector is 3,000 to 6,000. We have more than 7,000, almost 7,000 at the moment. Can you imagine what's going to happen in 5 and 10 years' time? You know, by the time we start saving money up to do any of this stuff, I bet you these figures are going to hit 10,000. We're going to have a fatality. I really hope that doesn't happen. Even on our local roads, there should only be, 100, 200, up to 2,000. No, we've got nearly 2,500 right now in 2026. It's not looking good. There has to be a greater sense of urgency, and I call upon this chamber in this budget to not cut the work that this administration and the community have done for months and months and months, in fact years, to get to this point. We have to move without delay to save lives, and that's the simple fact.
Councillor Dawes.
One more question. I should have asked it before. This process in number 3, a statutory notification and so forth, just give me a timeline for that. Would we get back a response fairly quickly so that we can proceed with consultation? Can you give me a timeline?
Through the Mayor, for a consultation like this, a statutory notification process, we would expect it to be out with the residents for up to 28 days. That will allow sufficient time for residents to provide their feedback. Once we've gathered and assessed what that feedback is, we'd be bringing that back to council. So the intention would be to bring it back, obviously as expediently as possible. It does take time to assess that kind of information, just to make sure that we get it right when we're making our recommendations. But I would ideally like to think that if it's March now, we'd be definitely coming back to the chamber with something by July.
By July. Thank you.
If not sooner.
Councillor Hallett.
Thank you.
When you're answering the questions at the centre table there, Mr Brennan. James. Just turn the microphone towards you, because it's not, I can hear, but I'm just concerned that some may not. So rather than you trying to lean over, if you just turn it around, when it's right in front of your mouth, the audio is much better. All right, now Councillor Hallett.
I wanted to ask what staggering means. I assume it means that you can have no parking on one section of one side of the street, and then a bit further up you have it on the opposite side. Is that what it means?
Yep, through the Mayor. Yep, that's correct.
Thank you. I have got another question, if you want me to ask it now. On page 145, and I think this relates to what Councillor Dawes was talking about, it's the results of the survey, and for Main Street, it says that there were 12 that supported its closure. I think that's what it's saying. And there were 38 that opposed it. Is that correct?
Through the Mayor, yes. Essentially, what we asked people was if they had any comments in reference to a specific treatment. They had a free field to make those comments. We then analysed those comments to determine whether they supported or opposed, or if it wasn't clear in relation to that specific item. So what you see there is that 5 Main Street residents said they support it, 7 said other Eastwood residents said they support it, so a total of 12 of those people responded said that they supported. So you've interpreted that correctly.
So there were
Is this another question?
on for that. So just clarifying again, there were a lot more people who said, no, we don't support it, we don't want it closed. 38 to 12.
Through the Mayor, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the administration for the work that you have done to bring this to fruition. As I often walk around on by Shanks Pony and I cross Portrush Road at Cater where it turns into Park Street, there's a memorial there of a young schoolgirl who was hit by a car and passed away in 1999? 2001? Alex, something or other is her name. Yeah, but so look, if we need this, that closure obviously happened after the fatality. Councillor Henschke mentioned the fatalities, and sometimes it unfortunately it takes a fatality for action to be made. But I'm also cautious about how is the waste pickup going to occur if this street is shut in the middle. I'm just picturing a truck having to do a 3-point turn, which is impossible, and having to deal with the parking that is already on the side of the road. I've received 5 phone calls this week, 3 this week and 2 last week, who seem to be firmly against it. So I cannot support this in this form, but I will support the original. I don't like it when my phone lights up as it has, but sometimes people have to tell you. So thank you very much.
If there's no one else to speak, I'm going to go back to Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you very much. I note the comments from my ward councillor next to me. He was one person riding down the street at a fast and furious pace just this past week, and I was hoping, and he didn't notice I was watching, but there was no car coming around the corner to smash you flat on the road. So that is a good thing that you are here, because I don't want to see other cyclists encounter that same problem, meeting a car at the corner of Elizabeth and Main Streets. That's the whole point of this exercise, and I do thank the staff, because we've worked over a long period of time to get to this point about increasing some road safety in our as a model in our inner suburban area. And I note some people in the Eastwood did not want to do a trial, but all I'm asking is we try it and see how it calms the farm, so to speak, and we get people through the streets safely. I note Main Street closure on page 140 in the excellent draft precinct plan. The justification is it's above average peak hour volume. That's the most important thing. Mercedes, I was doing 40k, which we all should do, but residents usually do 20 to slow down the traffic. A Mercedes came past after I parked and roared up the street to Fullerton Road. And this is not a once-off occasion. It happens frequently, and it only takes one child to step out on the street and be on a bike or just walking across the road. There are small children in the neighbourhood, and they would be flattened. So I ask you to look at page 140 and note the reduction. The impacts stated here are reduction in traffic in Elizabeth and Main. There will also be reduction in Markey, reduction in the likelihood of collision with pedestrians in front of the reserve and kindergarten, and a safer cyclist route due to lower traffic volumes. And there is an example of an interaction or a design of a modal, construction at the end of the street. Doesn't need to be that specific. It could be bollards just in the road to allow bicycles to go through, but no cars to go through. So I ask you to seriously consider this, and hopefully we can get something in place by the end of the year. I seek your support on this motion. Thank you.
All
And
those
thank
in
the
favour?
staff.
All those against? Motion is carried. Now we move to
Thank you, Joanna.
Finance End of the Month Report, page 147, Councillor
Why is
Davey.
No. Sorry?
Thank you. This is item 4. I have an alternate motion to support that of the administration, and that is that Council receives the Finance End of Month Report for February 2026. And number 2, notes that due to the success of the Regulated and Significant Tree Assistance Fund, and that the $80,000 budget for 25-26 has been exhausted. And 3, approves a further $30,000 to be added to the fund for the 2005-26 financial year balance, and to be included in the 3rd budget review. In May, if you could add please, in May 2026. I think you're all familiar with our Significant Tree Assistance Fund, and it's been very heavily utilised. It's working, doing its job, but we haven't allocated enough funds for it. We have had, and this is all outlined in the CEO, in much more detail in the CEO's report further on in the council agenda, but she's advised us there have been 31 applications approved to support 49 important trees in Burnside. So therefore we need, for the remaining 4 months of our budget cycle, we need additional funding to ensure that residents continue to have access to support the maintenance and preservation of these important veteran trees in the city of Burnside. So it's pretty straightforward. I think we, when we're going through the budget process, upcoming budget process, we would need to allocate a little bit more, because this is the second year in a row that we've had this challenge with not enough funds and a big uptake. So I hope you'll support this additional funding. Thank you.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Cornish.
Happy to support, and I'll reserve my right. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
Mayor, I wish to declare a conflict of interest regarding this fund, because our household received some tree assistance funding for our significant tree in our yard, but it's a perceived conflict of interest, and I'll remain in the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you very much for recording that. Okay. Councillor Dawes.
Yes, I'd like to support Councillor Davey here. You might recall that in our discussions about last year, we did add a little bit more to the rates, because you never know from one year to the next if something is required extra. And we add a little bit more to the overall rate. And this year we've been very good children, Councillor Jones, because we've hardly spent anything extra, but this one is needed. There's no question of it. So I believe what we decided back in June of last year was appropriate, and it is shown again tonight.
Councillor Henschke, you wish to speak?
Yes. Yeah, look, I think that, you know, it's been, the budget's been met, it was planned, the budget was fulfilled for 25-26. I think it's probably a good thing to always do a post-investment review after, you know, we've had this annuity of funds year after year. I won't support this because I believe before we start writing cheques out, we do that post-investment review, because this program has been going on for some years and there's always room for efficiencies and improvements. So I'd like to make that point quite strongly to this chamber, because in the context of budget repair, it feels like policy on the run for me to suddenly do this. I don't have any information on a review of how that money's been spent, other than that it's been exhausted. So I won't be supporting this.
Councillor Cornish.
Just a question going on from that. I remember reading an email from the administration yesterday where Councillor Davey actually asked for quite a lot of that summary and history about how many trees and how much money and stuff like that. I was just wondering if we could get a concise précis of some of those statistics.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, I can provide the Chamber with some updated figures that I've received today from the team. So as Councillor Davies has stated, that we started the year with an $80,000 budget. $64,000 of that has actually been paid out, and so far we have $12,500 dollars worth of approvals that are waiting to be paid and settled. So in total, we've had 45 applications lodged, and we've assisted 54 trees, and we've got a small unallocated amount of 3,000. So that amount's probably changed because of the approvals process from the figures that were previously quoted at the end of February. We do have an analysis by ward, and I'm very happy to send that information out rather than providing it here tonight, but we can provide that by information document this week.
Thank you.
Councillor Hallett.
What's going through my head is this the best? I mean, we have this because we want to support private ownership of significant trees. And are we doing any evaluation of what the result is? If we pay, I don't know, $2,000 for someone to get an arborist report, or does that, in the long term, is that resulting in the tree being maintained and still there, or does it finish up getting removed anyway after we've paid out money? Because what I'm thinking is, are we getting best bang for our buck here? I've got a significant tree. I haven't ever applied for any support. I've also got regulated trees. But I'm just wondering if it actually works, and so it's worthwhile spending it's a reasonable amount of money, or whether we would be better off just planting $80,000 worth of new trees. So I'm looking for some evaluation, yeah.
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question, and it's something that I know the team are very conscious of as well, because it is a lot of money, and it has, as the popularity of the assistance has become more well known, then we found that we are supporting more and more trees. So these are private trees. The good news is that every one of these grants is backed up by an arborist report that is prepared at the expense of the applicant. So we have approved arborists that are recommending the works to these trees. We never fund tree removals or tree damaging activities, and obviously if any of the work that was proposed required development approvals, that would also occur. So it's certainly providing an incentive. I guess council could ask whether that work would have been done if we weren't offering that incentive. That's a good question. I do think, in support of what Councillor Henschke has said, that perhaps we could do a review, and perhaps I could suggest that we bring back, the administration brings back a report to provide some analysis and statistics and data around the last couple of years that we've been providing this assistance. We're very happy to do that.
Councillor Wilkins.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to support the motion because if we're helping people who have a significant tree on their property and helping them to maintain it in good health and safety, with an arborist report and some pruning that is required, which they possibly cannot afford, I think it's a good thing. I think we are assisting the community in that way. Just today, coming home, I noticed that there were guys from the Urban Forest Department had been working on the tree, the turkey oak in Prescott Terrace. Then I saw guys up with a rope in Matilda Street Park, which is a public park. But nonetheless, if we're out there in the community and we're demonstrating to private residents that we are able to assist and keep trees healthy and stable, because we do not want to see major trees falling on anybody's house or anybody's road surface or anybody's car or damaging any person. So I think it's a good investment to make, because it's obviously been, it's needed. The system and the assistance fund has been popular, and I think we should support it. So thank you for bringing it, Jane.
Thank you. Before I go to Councillor Hallett, can I just remind you about mobile phones? There's two I've seen so far and one that went off. So please, could you make sure that they are all turned off and are not going to interrupt the debate at all? Thank you. Now, Councillor Hallett.
Thank you. I know from my own experience that it is an expense and it is a significant responsibility having a significant tree, and they work. You know, you've got to keep possums out of your roof because they've got a habitat value. But on the other hand, I'm also thinking that what if everyone that's got a significant tree then starts applying to council? So is it just going to be the lucky few who get in early, or are we just going to keep increasing this amount? And so, but I do welcome that you would provide an evaluation type assessment. But yeah, I do understand that it is a responsibility on the private owner, and that it is a real expense.
Councillor Jones.
Hold on to your seats, folks, because I'm going to speak in favour of government spending. And there's a sound economic reason for this funding for private trees, which is externalities, which is the fact that we all benefit from trees on private property. We live in leafy Burnside, which improves our quality of life, and it improves our house values. And the reason for that is partly because trees exist on private property that we get a benefit from. We're constantly complaining about loss of tree canopy, and the loss of tree canopy is not on council land, that's increasing. The loss is on private property, which diminishes our amenity. So there's the sound economic basis that we as a community contribute to private tree owners to defray part of their cost in giving us a benefit. I mean, this is even Milton Friedman would approve of this spending, I'm sure. I can say that because he's dead. And so, for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. And the fact that we're spending more than budget is a good thing, because it means the message is getting out to people that we're willing to help them. And look, I'm sure there's lots of things that council does I'd happily not spend money on, but this isn't one of those items, so I hope you'll support the motion.
Councillor Turnbull.
Well, thank you, Mayor. My question is, how is this arrangement made known to our residents?
Through the Mayor. It's available on our website. Through our customer experience team, they'll be aware of the grant funding too, so if we get any inquiries. We've also got dedicated member of staff in the community development team that looks after the funding allocations and works very closely with arborists that are in the area and queries that come through about the owners of these regulated and significant trees.
Could it go into the focus deficit?
Yes, it certainly can. At the moment, you'll see from the take-up, we don't have a shortage of applicants. So we've got 4 that currently haven't been funded out of that 77,000 that's already been allocated. So we just need to be mindful, if we're going into every house, then there could be a few unsatisfied residents because we just won't be able to meet the demand. So generally, the arborists are spreading the word on council's behalf too, because if they go out and see a tree, they'll say, are you aware that council does offer some assistance? And that's very often a good route through. So I think it's pretty well advertised. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Jones, I don't know how I could top what you just said. But what I will probably say something personal, which I don't generally try and do in this chamber, but I've got a big window that overlooks a neighbour who's 5, 6, 8 houses down with a significant tree. And I've actually gone to thank her for her significant tree because it gives me great joy looking out my window, even though it's 8 houses away. So it is absolutely correct what that tree does for the wider community and the amenity. So I fully support this, and only if every household had a significant tree on their property, I'd be overjoyed. But unfortunately with our development, that will never be the case. So let's try and protect as many of them as we can.
Councillor Henschke, you have a question?
Yes, a question through the Mayor to the administration. If we did a review of the benefits that we've realised from these investments for, I think this has been going on for 5+ years perhaps, so we've never had a review at that time, and my question is, would that review then reveal that we need to invest more than what we think today, which is $30,000, but we need to invest another $50,000 or $100,000, and we need to have a bigger campaign, perhaps even enhance this program with efficiencies, and at the moment it was stated the applicant pays for an arborist report, and there's capability, there's only limited capabilities for an arborist 5, there aren't many arborist 5s around in Adelaide. So it does make it, the process for applicants isn't that simple and easy anyway. So do you think, yes, that perhaps a review would enlighten us more fully for a more greater investment that we can look at next time? And would that review just take perhaps a couple of months to do, or, yeah, thank you. There's a few loaded questions in there, thank you.
Through the Mayor, thanks for the question, Councillor Henschke. I think picking up on Councillor Jones' comments before around public versus private land and where we're losing our canopy, we have completed a tree audit, and we are going to be coming back with an environmental sustainability information briefing session. So it may be something that we will ask James and Dr. Phil Roteman to consider as part of that, because if we, I think the outcome of some of that tree audit is that we are increasingly going to be pushed with regard to the amount of public land. So a fund like this may be part of the solution. So it'll be something that we can consider as part of that.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question for administration. So would it be fair to say that the households that we are actually helping and encouraging help with significant trees are happy for council to be providing this support and funding so that they can retain these trees and contribute to our tree canopy?
Through the Mayor, thanks for the question, Councillor Harvey. The people that receive the funding would certainly be happy. Councillors here have mentioned that they appreciate the significant tree. What is something that I think would be worthy of questioning and reviewing is whether how many repeat requests for the funding are we getting from our residents, and whether that's something that we should be continuing on, or whether we should be trying to reach other residents who have significant trees who haven't accessed the fund. So I think that's something that we can take on notice and review.
Councillor Davey, do you have a question?
A question, thanks, Mayor. To the staff. My community members who've utilised this service think it's wonderful because they're very keen to preserve the trees for their koalas if they have them, and their birds. They've actually said to me that the process was pretty straightforward and efficient. Is there anything we can do to improve it, or is it already at a fairly straightforward and basic process at the moment?
Thank you for the question. Through the Mayor, we've had a couple of reviews of the process in line with some tweaking of the policy for that grant funding. I believe that the support that we give both the arborists and the applicants is very thorough, and I'm not aware of any particular inefficiencies in that process. I am aware of one complaint where some funds were committed over 2 years worth of grants, and there was a bit of a hiccup in that process. But other than that, I think the process runs very smoothly. That said, I think in any review we would take the opportunity to reconsider if there are any other areas for improvement or tweaks to the policy. So that would be part of the report. Thank you.
Councillor Davey, would you like to sum up, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all very much for your interest and comments. For those who don't know, the Significant and Regulated Tree Assistance Scheme is driven by a policy, a council policy, which we've had in place since August 2023. I think the administration, as has been said, have done a fantastic job promoting and supporting and facilitating it. The feedback I've had from my community directly is that they are very grateful for the opportunity. Large river red gums, or of the sort that Councillor Cornish has described, and the ones that we know are very often significant trees, are hundreds of years old, and often the slight grant and help we give them is a drop in the ocean to what the costs are. It's just, as I've been told, it's a tiny bit of help, and it's significant because it shows the council cares and is helping them make an investment in their tree and preserving and conserving their tree. We know that we have had increasing storms, increasing storm activity and increasingly violent storms, and this is often the time when help is needed after branches or whole trees are damaged by the storm activity. So I think in the scheme of things, in our huge budget, multi-million-dollar budget, an allocation of another $30,000 for this year's funding is a very good investment. I think Councillor Jones described very well the value of trees and what they bring to us. So hopefully you'll support this additional $30,000 to be undertaken, to be included in the budget review, and that we undertake a review of the process and its value. Thank you.
All those in favour? Those against? Division's been called. All those who voted in favour, please stand. Councillor Henschke, Cornish, Harvey, Hallett, Zing, Davey, Hubel, Jones, Jennings, Wilkins, Dawes and Turnbull. No one against. Now we have 11.5, which is on page 155. Councillor Davey.
Excuse me, through the Mayor, I need to declare a conflict of interest for, sorry, am I on the right one? The Mayor's report? Yes, I need to declare a conflict of interest, so I will be leaving because it's a material conflict of interest for me.
Thank you. I'll move in accordance with the recommendation, with just an addition in 3 that authorises the Mayor, in collaboration with the CEO Review Committee and CMs, council members, and if applicable, the Eastern Region Alliance Councils, to lodge a submission with the Remuneration Tribunal focusing on the Mercer report and the subsequent assessment of that report, classifying the City of Burnside as a Band 4 council as opposed to a Band 3 council for CEO remuneration. I just thought I'd add that to give the opportunity to council members who might want to have a contribution.
Just before you go on, I want to check on the date, because the Mercer report, the response to that report is the 21st of April. When's the April council meeting? I know we've got a CEO committee meeting prior to that, but well, I understand what you're trying to do. There's an urgency about this. If it's not in by the deadline, it will not be considered at all. 21st is the meeting, so and that 5 o'clock on that day is the deadline. So although the intent is right, I think what you have to be able to do is actually hope that, I mean, anyone can come to the CEO committee meeting and listen to the debate and the discussion, but that's why the decision, why it needs to be the CEO committee that approves it. I mean, that's what.
Is it not possible to draft one up before then, out of session, rubber stamp it in collaboration with the community, the CMs, and rubber stamp it on the night of the CEO Review Committee?
Yes, the answer is from Chris that yes, that can be done through an info doc.
Yes,
All right,
that's doing it that way.
but not through a council meeting, because the council meeting won't happen in time.
Sorry, yes.
All right,
yes,
so
yes.
if you want to word it in a way that in collaboration authorises the mayor in consultation with council members and in collaboration with the CEO Review Committee.
Yes, I'm happy with that, yes.
Do you get that, Wendy? In consultation with council members and in collaboration with the CEO Review Committee.
In consultation with council members out of session or by infodoc, or do we need to say that?
I don't think we need to say it. And everybody's heard it, that's how you're going to... There is a draft happening at the moment because of the deadline, and the deadline and the response is very specific in that if you remember rightly, we did actually do a response to the tribunal, about 6 months ago, and they basically told us to, yes, they were going to ignore it completely. However, now, and we did ask a lot of questions, and at that time we wanted to know more about this Mercer report. Now we've got a copy of that report, and what they've said is that any replies that go to the government have to go, but be lodged with specific reference to that report. Otherwise, it won't be considered at all. So I believe that's what we're working on at the moment, right? So now that's clear.
So thank you, yes.
Councillor Davey,
that's my intent, that just everybody, because we just don't know what people might have to add to it. And if it's a collaborative effort, it's everyone's likely to be happy with it.
The only thing, of course, is they have to be aware of the Mercer report and have, because otherwise they can't just add anything in that they would like to add in or take out anything they might like to. So, and I'd like to think that you would trust the CEO committee to make that final decision. Councillor Dawes, are you seconding?
I'll second. I reserve my right.
Okay. There may not be anyone else speaking, Councillor Dawes. I suggest you speak now. Right, then Councillor Davey, are you happy for me to put the motion? All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. I'd like to invite the CEO to come back. And we'll move to 11.6, which is the Chief Executive Officer's report. And I am declaring a conflict of interest. It is a material one because it does involve a small sum of money. So I will be vacating the chamber, and you will need to choose somebody to act as chair for this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I seek a nomination for someone to chair the next agenda item, please?
Councillor Cornish.
Councillor Cornish, would you be happy to chair? All those in favour? Thank you.
Thank you, members. Who pulled this motion? It was Councillor Henschke. Councillor Henschke, over to you.
Thank you, Councillor Cornish. I move with the officer's recommendation, and I pulled this to just have a short question or two. The officer's recommendation notes the Chief Executive Officer Report February 2026 approves the Mayor to attend the National Reconciliation Week breakfast on the 27th of May 26 in line with Council members' training and professional development policy. My question is in regards to, on page 196, paragraph 26, on the topic of leadership, the CEO, the theme there is about partnerships, and I just thought it'd be opportune, if it wasn't raised in this CEO report but perhaps the previous one, the leadership, just to highlight the leadership from the administration to engage with the Botanic Gardens in regards to help to protect and enhance the state heritage plantings that we have in the Tunga Gardens at Burnside War Memorial Hospital. And I just wanted to ask if the CEO would mind touching upon that. I don't believe it was touched upon in the previous CEO report, or maybe I'm mistaken. Thank you.
Through the chair, for council members, as part of advocacy planning and seeking partnerships, I know that Councillor Wilkins and Councillor Henschke have a great interest in the Atunga Gardens, and the other, Michael Perry, which is also a botanical garden of interest, and to look at how we can develop partnership and collaboration around the uniqueness of those gardens, in particular Atunga. We reached out to Dr. Leonie Scriven, who obviously was a former staff member here, who now is the Deputy Director of the Adelaide Botanic Gardens. And so we organised a meeting, so James might be able to provide a bit of an update, because we had an initial meeting looking at how do we work together with the Botanic Gardens for the Atunga Gardens, and to see what further protections or other things, botanical things of interest, and what we can do with regard to the management plan. So since then, we had a meeting, and then we were following up with Dr. Scriven, and I'm not sure, James, you can update us on anything further.
Thanks for the opportunity, just to fill you in on where we're at with that. So we met with Dr. Leonie Scriven in January. It was a really, really thorough, robust, interesting discussion about the history of the gardens, also leveraging her thoughts on her approach on how she would look to potentially provide us with input and feedback. Obviously, both those gardens are prime community assets, so we agreed at the meeting that a good approach will be to, we need to go back and benchmark what's contained in our conservation management plans. So they're heritage-focused conservation management plans, obviously, but definitely with the Atunga Gardens, certainly around the botanic interest that applies to those sites. We're going to be looking to undertake some form of co-design on trying to come up with what the future for those sites will look like, obviously being respectful of their heritage components, the fact that the land was donated by from Otto van Ruben. So these sorts of things we're working, and it's important that we get it right, so it does take time to gather this kind of information. We should be able to have a detailed update for council in the next couple of months.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight in the CEO's report that partnerships are a great thing going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Hallett, are you seconding the motion?
No, I wanted to ask
I need a seconder. You can second, well, you can't now, you've clicked it off. Councillor Davey, are you happy to second the motion?
Thank you, Councillor Cornish. Yes, I'm happy to second it, and I just have a small variation to part 2 of the motion, if I may. And that is...
a variation?
Yes, okay. And it's just to add to, with reimbursement, so at the end with council members' training and development policy, with reimbursement of fees on provision of a report to council in line with the training and development policy. Well, it doesn't really need that. In line with part 4, which is, because the policy actually says, following attendance at a training and development activity, council members must prepare and submit to council a written report in relation to their attendance, outlining the nature of the activity and the benefits gained through attendance. And the CEO will arrange for it to be tabled at a meeting of council. So just for completeness, that's Paris 6.4.6 of the council member training and development, professional development policy.
Thank you. Councillor Henschke, are you happy to accept that as a variation? Yeah, there's a few more in front of you, sorry.
Well, it's a breakfast, it's not training. That's my
Through the
training and
chair,
development
we can, the Mayor can provide an update in a report to the next Mayor's report for April to talk about the breakfast. That would be okay.
So you're happy to accept? Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Davey.
And I'll just speak to the CEO's report. In line with Heritage Gardens, I'm not sure how, with the point that was raised, I'm not sure how these are managed. I mean, it's all co-design and partnerships are fabulous, but how does this equate to all the other historic gardens we've got and parks that we've got across Burnside? Hazelwood Park with all of its heritage gardens and trees. We've got quite a few, Kensington Gardens Reserve. So how have gardens been selected for heritage and design input? Are we developing conservation management plans for them, which are then being implemented? Or how are we going about that? Sorry, I'm not clear in terms of our policy and procedures.
Through the chair, Atunga and Michael Perry, they're the only two that have a specific botanical uniqueness towards them that are listed in that way. And also the Atunga Gardens signage and wayfinding also featured in our advocacy plan. So that is how it, but there are obviously many reserves and parks that are crucial value to us and the community, but only two that really have a unique botanical status.
Councillor Temple. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wilkins. I do apologise.
Oh, apology accepted.
I don't sit here frequently, so looking at this,
no
looking at the screen, yeah.
Just back to Heritage Gardens. Yes, I did attend that initial meeting, and I have followed up with Mr. Trevor Nottle, who we were going to actually access his skill and expertise in heritage gardens around Australia and overseas. I have left a message with him this week, and I will follow up again. I haven't forgotten, but he has been not well. But now we're into autumn. Hopefully all will be better. So I haven't forgotten. Thank you, because it is so critically important that we actually have to get an expert opinion on how we go forward with Atunga to actually keep up the value of Otto von Rieben's legacy to this council district. Thank you.
Councillor Temple.
I have two questions, totally unrelated. The first one is on page 199. At the February Council meeting, I asked about an update about Era Water. Has a date been arranged to give us an update and a workshop on it?
Through the chair, we've got a nominal, I think I put this in a week in review email, a nominal date, I think I'm looking to Martin, in May. Yeah, in May, and looking at combining this with our strategic water review outcomes, of which we had an information briefing session online with Stephen Morton. So bringing those two together, because they clearly they interact with each other. So a much broader strategic look at water security, and then specifically around Era Water.
Thank you.
And you have a follow-up question?
The other one, it's not a follow-up, it's quite bizarre. Who organises and writes the scripts for the Instagram and Facebook posts, and how many per week are published?
I managed to take that one on notice, Councillor Turnbull.
Take no notice.
I'll take that on notice.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Temple, if you can turn your microphone off, thank you. Councillor Hallett.
I've got three questions. Shall I ask them, or just start with one?
You can ask two. I do have Councillor Davey straight after you though, okay. So I might come back to you for the third one.
Okay, they're not particularly difficult. 189, page 189, it talks about National Local Government Vulnerability Program. What is that?
Through the chair, that is a national program that is run by JLT Risk Services. So they are the risk services and a risk provider to local government. And we were asked to take part in a national survey around readiness, around vulnerability in disasters. So there was a workshop with JLT officers from their head office and senior staff from Work Health and Safety, from all across our business, around readiness on how we would deal with disasters, climate impacts, a whole range of areas. Cyber, there's a whole range of things. So it was a case that we undertook a survey, and that we will actually, once we get the results of that survey, that will help us being able to apply to federal fundings like the Natural Disaster Resilience Fund. So it's a local government risk manager that undertook the survey with us, and we're a number of, I don't know, maybe I think 100 councils have done it across Australia to date. Through the chair, it is really our readiness to our readiness for disasters. So it's looking at council operations and how we respond.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I've got two further questions. We attended, this is again on page 189, paragraph 4, we attended, I think City of Burnside distinguished itself with a very good table at the Resilient East Council Member Workshop, developing the Regional Climate Action Plan. And I'm just wondering how we're going to be getting the plan back and what capability we've got into input again for the plan. And then I've got another question.
Through the chair, the Resilient East Coordinator, Jeremy, sits actually in the City of Burnside, but he works across all the Resilient East councils. He presented to the ERA CEOs, and they are at the moment just compiling all the feedback through the workshops. And what they will be looking to do is to try and identify, they will come up with a list of 10 projects to undertake as part of the Resilient East Climate Action Plan, and they'll be looking to come back to council members in a survey to look even to refine that list down to 10. So that is due to come back to all council members.
Thank you.
And your follow-up question?
It's in relation to East Waste on page 200. There's a new draft service level agreement being developed for constituent councils for feedback, and it's due to be provided by the end of February. And I didn't know anything about it. I'd love to have some say in a service level agreement, because I've got some questions about East Waste and how we can perhaps include, this is page 200, include, ask them what they're doing to increase services, improve them, improve recycling rates and all of those sort of things. So I wondered when we will have an opportunity to input the service level agreement. Thanks.
Through the chair, I think an email was sent out, I can't remember exactly on what date. So the service level agreement has been undertaken with East Waste with all constituent councils and is due to be signed off by the board, the East Waste board itself. So there is an option either to speak with our member around the types of things you'd like to see. Then we have our own policy, which is our waste policy, that we can, that councillors can obviously update and have input in. So I'm not sure if there's anything further to add to that, James.
Councillor Hallett, you're next.
Thank you. On page 193 at point 21, it talks about Penfold Park Water Sensitive Urban Design, and it talks about capacity to accommodate biofiltration infrastructure. What is that, and is it in the ground or above ground?
Through the chair, biofiltration is normally something like you can have a wetland or create a wetland that the actual grasses and the plant and the reeds are doing the filtration part of it. So it would be in the ground as a man-made sort of water feature is how I understand that.
Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you, Councillor Cornish. Through you to the CEO, and I go back to page 200 and the topic East Waste, and I note the line consistent and accountable service standards across member councils. They have been woeful in the past few runs. Has there been any explanation that accounts for that poor service standard that we've encountered recently?
Through the acting presiding member. Councillor Wilkins, if you're referring specifically to some challenges we've been facing in Eastwood and the small streets there,
yes.
What we find is that the smaller the street, the harder it is to get a waste truck up it. And when we have on-street parking, it becomes even more challenging. We're finding that residents quite often will be parked across the road from each other in very tight streets, and even with a small litter bin truck, it's hard to get those trucks up there. So obviously when we become aware of any concerns, we'll pick that up with the provider, and every time we expect to see a robust investigation as to what's occurred. Was there an operational issue that should have been addressed by East Waste? If it's simply an obstruction that you can't get a truck through, we'll then try and find out what the solution for that might be. In places like Eastwood, it might be that we need to have some sort of additional parking restrictions to ensure that on bin collection day, the trucks can get through those areas.
I would think, if I may, through the chair, make a comment on that, because people do actually make an effort to allow space. They cannot always use parking as the excuse for not collecting the bins that run, usually at 7 a.m, and usually it's a ginormous truck. It's not the smaller truck that I've seen, as I've said in emails, coming out of Victoria Grove, which has been obviously going around Victoria Grove collecting East Waste rubbish in there. So I would expect the same in Eastwood, where there are narrow streets. The only main wide street is Hortfield Terrace, where they could use the large truck. And I go back time and time again to the original agreement that we had with East Waste, that there would be a smaller truck used in the collection in those tight inner city suburbs that we have in Eastwood, Dulwich, Rose Park, etc., in the lanes. So I expect them to actually deliver. Because otherwise, if they're going to use a large truck all the time, they could come later in the day and they would find the streets, cars would be actually gone because they have parked outside on the street because they can't park on the blocks of land that are small.
I'll take that as a very long-winded question.
Great.
As you've already spoken, Councillor Wilkins. So, and those topics can be taken offline with staff members. But I'll move on to Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my question, my follow-up question to the original one about the East Waste Service Level Agreement is exactly along the lines of Councillor Wilkins, and it relates to problems in Beulah Park with rubbish collection. Again, narrow streets, tiny streets, they were supposed to have small rubbish bin trucks, and with a system where they collect them early, and that seems to have some difficulties. That's why I'm very keen, and I still am not clear, to know when we will get an opportunity to have a say on the service level agreement, because I want to make sure that this is all addressed.
I think that's been answered, Councillor.
I'm not clear in my mind.
Well, at the moment, we have to go through Councillor Jennings as our representative on that board to make any effective change.
So are we doing so we're not doing
It's past that point.
So why weren't we involved?
I believe an email was sent. Whether or not any feedback was submitted might have been that reason, but certainly...
I'm not aware of...
Yeah, well, well, that's what was said earlier. So, but through Councillor Jennings, provide his some input to make some effective change at that board level, at that.
Thank you.
Is that correct? Sorry.
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct. I'll see what communication has come out and resend it as well.
Councillor Hallett, you're next.
Thank you. On page 196, there's a heading called Emerging Issue Opportunities. My question is, do we know how many trees are to be removed?
Through the chair, no. The short answer is no at this point. We were concerned, given the LGA were going to release, they released data that they had got under freedom of information through SA Power Networks, and they had indicated at that point there was approximately 400 trees in the city of Burnside. However, that data has not been verified, and we have had some challenges with verifying data previously. So since then, James and his team has had a meeting with SA Power Networks and working through to determine exactly that number and how it can be managed. And then looking forward, it's more about species selections in certain areas. So the short answer is we don't know the exact number at this point.
Will we ever know?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Henschke, would you like to put the motion?
I would just like to sum up very briefly. There's a lot in this report, and as we can hear tonight, lots of questions, which is great, and it's wonderful content here. The letter from the Chief Executive of the Department of Environment and Heritage, I just wanted to just quickly say something, because this is a really big milestone that this Chief Executive Officer has written to the Mayor and said, we're going to expedite the heritage assessment for the nomination of the Jean Rouse Villa and other items on that site. And the assessment's going to be scheduled for the 30th of April. So this is really good news after all the work that the Chamber did in January after the Christmas break and the community. If you want to put a blue ribbon up on the fence, the community have got blue ribbons, and you can put a blue ribbon up on the fence to acknowledge the war widows on Fullerton Road.
It's very decorative. Thank you, Councillor Henschke. All those in favour? Those against? And that is carried. And I relinquish this role.
I'd like to do the one motion on notice, and it may be that and I understand that Councillor Harvey wishes to request confidentiality for that.
Yes.
If that's going to be, if someone proposes it and it is approved, then I'm going to suggest that we have the break now and then handle all the confidential items straight after that, after a 10-minute break. Item 13.1 has been withdrawn. Has been withdrawn. Right, so just withdrawn from tonight's item on agenda. So I will proceed to the next section, to 13.2. Now, Councillor Harvey, would you like to speak? Explain what you would like to do.
I'd like to move into confidence,
Right.
please.
So I seek someone to move that, and then someone to second it. Councillor Wilkins, you're moving it. Councillor Davey, you're seconding it. All those in favour of going into confidence for this discussion? Oh, you want to ask a question, Councillor Dawes? I was using the screen. Sorry. I've got on my screen, I have Councillor Harvey, who spoke first, then I have Councillor Wilkins, then I have Councillor Dawes. I'm sorry, Councillor. Right. I will start again. Councillor has requested that we move into confidential mode for this next item. So I have Councillor Harvey, you can't move it yourself. So then I have Councillor Dawes. So Councillor Dawes, you're moving it. No, you want to ask a question, didn't you? Right, so ask your question first, please.
Somebody's on. Oh, right. My question is to administration, just so I understand it, because I don't think Councillor Harvey is making this a budget bid. Am I correct in saying that? Because she's not saying that she wants the $2,000 from the budget. She's saying she wants it as a recurrent. But does that make it a budget bid or not? Can you explain that?
Through the Mayor, it's not a budget bid per se, as with the other items. This would be a request to go into the budget for next year, and you're right, it's a recurrent item, so it would remain in the budget for the future, beyond now.
I also
Sorry,
have
Councillor, you have a question?
Sorry, I'm now just seeing the the rationale. Sorry, my screen's
It's
just
all right,
gone
it's
off.
15 and a half years. I've never actually had this happen before.
Well, usually there's a bit more of an explanation of the need
Correct.
to go into confidence.
Yes.
So I kind of need to know what our legal requirements are to go into confidence, and it is gender concerning matters that must be considered.
I'll get Chris Birch to explain.
Yeah, through the Mayor, it's section G, which I'm trying to remember what that one actually is. It's basically protection around just not revealing any confidential information from other discussions.
Thank you. That clarifies the matter. Thank you.
So now I will seek a mover for this item to be allowed to be debated confidentially. So I'm looking at my screen. Councillor Turnbull, you're moving. And Councillor Davey, you're seconding. Thank you. All those in favour? Against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Could I do it again? Those in favour? 1, 2, 3. Right, those against? Right, the motion's carried, so what I'm going to suggest is we have a 10-minute break now.